An in-depth report by the New York Times has uncovered that private insurance companies are systematically robbing Medicare using the Medicare Advantage program. So now look, this of course comes as no surprise. We know private companies consistently rip off government programs and use that to try to privatize to get more profits. Nonetheless, let's get into some of the details here. According to an analysis of dozens of lawsuits, inspector general reports, and watchdog investigations, they had found evidence of massive overbilling by Medicare Advantage providers, the government. So, the details of which are actually very simple, and we'll get into that. Medicare Advantage plans are run by private for profit insurance companies that are able to get government money. Now, their only goal is to maximize profit. And they've, of course, done so by squeezing every nickel they can out of the government by essentially overinflating the billing that they submit to the federal government. Now, they say the practice is so pervasive and lucrative that it even exceeds the budgets of entire federal agencies, which means your money going right into the pockets of private health insurance companies. There's not a damn you can do about it. Now, nearly half of Medicare's 60 million beneficiaries are now enrolled in MA plans managed by these for-profit insurance companies, and it's actually picking up in Democratic-held districts, which is very, very concerning. And it's expected that most of the nation's seniors will soon be ensnared in the private sector alternative to traditional Medicare by next year. Now, this report goes into how just about every major player in the industry has been accused by fraud by either whistleblowers or the US government. In addition, the vast majority are engaged in rampant upcoding or exaggerating the patient's illnesses in order to reap more money from taxpayers while refusing to provide the necessary care for tens of thousands each year. So again, they upcode, demand more reimbursement, and then deny people. It's horrible. It's an incredible grift that is going on, and it is because our government has allowed private insurance companies to privatize parts of Medicare, and they're going to continue to try to privatize even more. In fact, they're using this model and saying, look at how wonderful it works. This Medicare Advantage plan, why don't we add more of this stuff? Why don't we start to outsource more of this to the private industry? Now, Larry Levitt, Executive Vice President for Health Policy at Kaiser Family Foundation, wrote on social media that, quote, the move to private Medicare has been very profitable, in part because insurers are so good at making their patients seem sicker. This is how they do it. Journalist Natalie Shore added privatized Medicare plans cherry pick healthier enrollees, fudge medical records to make them look as sick as possible, coax doctors into taking on extra sham diagnoses to bill for, and pay themselves a profit on top of it. Medicare Advantage shouldn't exist. Now, of course, why does it exist in the first place? And the answer to that is, first, Republicans. Remember, Medicare Advantage happened during the Bush years. It was created by congressional Republicans who 2 decades ago created it to, quote unquote, encourage health insurers to find innovative ways to provide better care at a lower cost. And as we can see now, it's not only worse care, but at a higher cost. So that is, of course, it was a lie. It was always a lie. And it was basically made to be that way. Now, Matt Brunig noted this. The notion that private insurers would provide more benefit for less money is their argument than traditional Medicare while taking a profit is insane on its face. And of course it is. We knew that because it's obvious. The private market does not work well for this. Not for healthcare. You want to make shoes. That's a private market thing. But healthcare? No, you're insane. Of course, they're either going to raise prices and price people out, or take in more, in this case, government money, and still lower standards of care. so that they spend less money. But so, look, everyone in Capitol Hill knows this, and that's the point. Politicians know it, but it doesn't matter because these same politicians get greased by these companies because we have, in this country, legalized bribery in the form of campaign contributions. And that's how they get away with it. They'll always get away with it. Health insurance companies, who are among the largest and most prosperous in the nation, have developed these elaborate systems in order to try to make their patients appear sicker without providing any additional treatment. As a result, the program that has been devised to help lower healthcare spending has become substantially more costly, according to the report, than the traditional government program it was meant to so-called improve. Government now spends nearly as much on Medicare Advantage as 29 million beneficiaries as on the Army and Navy combined. And by the way, right-wingers use that argument to say, oh, see, we're spending so much money on healthcare, now we have to privatize it. No, that's the point. They go and they break these programs. They do these public-private nonsense partnerships, or they privatize certain things, which drives up the cost, and they say, look how much it costs. I guess we just have to privatize it more. It's disgusting. This is how they work. Now, the additional diagnoses, by the way, led to $12 billion in overpayments in 2020, according to an estimate from the group that advises Medicare on payment policies. And by the way, that is actually enough to cover hearing and vision care for every American over 65. Another estimate from a former top government health official suggested that the payments were actually more than double that, around $25 billion. Citing a KFF study that found that companies typically rake in twice as much gross profit from MA plans as from other types of insurance, the Times pointed out growing privatization of Medicare is strikingly lucrative. So let me just point out that this is the New York Times. Sometimes, I'm saying times too much. But look, occasionally they do some really good investigative reporting. Now, again, I know this is stuff that we all know, and we can all feel it kind of intrinsically, right? But there are so many people that don't know this stuff. There's so many people that don't understand exactly how they're screwing you. You all know that you're being screwed. I mean, that's a feeling, of course, right? We can figure that much out. But just how much? Putting a dollar figure to it and seeing exactly how they're gaming the system, I think that's really important. I think that's incredibly valuable. And so that's why these, these studies, these investigative reports are very, very helpful. And again, this also, by the way, goes against other for-profit industry talking points like choice. Again, right-wingers and conservative Democrats who are being paid off, by the way, by the health insurance industry, they'll say, well, look, we have to do this because it increases your choice. Well, it turns out, no, it reduces choice. Medicare Advantage plans have limited patients' choice of doctors and even require sometimes jumping through more hoops before getting certain types of expensive care. But they also point out, well, there's lower premiums and perks like dental benefits, which, of course, if you're massively overpaying for this, then maybe, yeah, if they throw in a little bit of dental, maybe not as bad. No, it's still really, really bad. And dental should not be a luxury thing that is paid for by screwing everyone else out of money. No, it should be available to every single American, not just people over 65, but to everyone. Medicare for all. That's what we need to have in this country. And by the way, if you cut out these private, private for-profit healthcare industries, health insurance industries, or companies, you can actually start affording to be able to cover everyone under Medicare for all. In fact, numerous studies have found that implementing single payer would guarantee the provision of life-saving care for every person in the country, while also reducing overall spending by as much as $650 billion per year. You have to cut out the private for-profit motive in healthcare. Not only do you save money, but you also save lives, because then people will actually have healthcare guaranteed. That's the way it works in every other modern industrial country that actually gives a damn about its people. But the reason that they don't do it is because of greed. Lobbying. Look, Health Committee Chair Richard Neal, who's a Democrat, has received about $3.1 million from the health insurance industry, the most in the House. He's one of the leading opponents of Medicare for All. It's not the only one. Most of them are against single-payer healthcare. They're bankrolled by health insurance companies, the same companies that continue to rob us blind. Got to eliminate that corrupting influence of money in politics, and so that we can finally say hell no to more privatization like Medicare Advantage and actually expand healthcare instead of ruin it for everyone else.